They smile at you, they flatter you, they tell you what you want to hear, but deep down they're pulling strings, your strings. Every day someone is trying to manipulate you, your boss, your partner, your so-called friend, even your own mind. And the worst part? Most of us never see it coming until it's too late. But what if you could see through every lie? What if you could predict manipulation before it even begins? Niccolò Machiavelli, often misunderstood as cold and ruthless, actually left behind a blueprint not just for power, but for self-protection. He didn't just teach how to manipulate. He taught how to resist manipulation from those who do. In this video, you're going to learn 5 powerful Machiavellian rules to protect yourself from being played, deceived, or used by others. These aren't vague ideas or motivational fluff. These are strategies used by leaders, CEOs, and high-level thinkers who refuse to be controlled. And listen, rules 4 and 5 will change the way you see people forever. If you've ever felt like you're too nice, too trusting, or too easy to read, you can't afford to miss those last 2. So stick with me until the end, because what you're about to learn could be the reason you finally stop being the puppet and start being the one who pulls the strings. Let's dive in. Never trust praise or promises. Blindly, it feels good when someone praises you. When they tell you you're special, talented, or destined for great things. When they promise to support you, to stand by you, to open doors for your future. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of the time, praise is not about you. It's about control. And promises, they're often just emotional currency, used in the moment to gain your trust, only to be broken when it's no longer convenient. Machiavelli understood this deeply. In The Prince, he wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." What he meant was simple. People don't care about your truth. They care about the image they can use to their advantage. When someone flatters you, you feel seen, appreciated, even empowered. But often, that's exactly when you're most vulnerable, because in that moment your guard drops. And that's when the manipulation begins. Think about it. At work, someone suddenly starts complimenting your ideas, your leadership, your potential. You've barely spoken before, but now they're your biggest fan. And just when you're beginning to trust them, they ask for something. Maybe they need your support on a project. Maybe they want you to speak on their behalf. You feel like helping. After all, they believe in you, right? But days later, you realize they used you to get closer to your boss or to take credit for your efforts. Their praise wasn't admiration. It was strategy. It happens in relationships too. Someone hurts you, lies to you, breaks your trust, and then the promises come. "I'll never do it again. You mean everything to me. Just give me one more chance." The words sound sincere. You want to believe them. But Machiavelli would tell you to watch what they do, not what they say. In his words, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. People say what they need to say to survive the moment, but when that moment passes, so does their commitment. This is not about becoming cold or paranoid. It's about staying awake. When someone praises you, pause and ask, what do they gain from me trusting them? When someone makes a promise, look at their history. Have they kept their word before? Or do they just know how to say the right thing? True respect is earned through consistency, not compliments. And loyalty is proven in silence, not in speeches. If you want to stop being manipulated, this is where it begins. Don't let your ego be fed by flattery. Don't let your hope be hijacked by promises. Keep your eyes open, stay grounded. Praise may feel like a gift, but sometimes it's bait. And promises, if taken blindly, can cost you more than any lie. Now let's move to rule 2, where we dig even deeper into the subtle games people play when they want something from you. 2. Analyze the hidden interests behind people's actions. People rarely do things just because. Every action, every gesture, every offer carries a motive, sometimes visible, but more often hidden beneath layers of charm, empathy, or kindness. The truth is, very few people act out of pure goodwill. Most of the time, there's something they want, something they're not saying. And if you don't learn to look beyond the surface, you'll constantly be a step behind, trusting when you should be questioning, giving when you should be observing, and losing ground without even knowing it. Machiavelli saw this clearly. He believed that behind every move in politics, in power, even in personal relationships, there was always a purpose. He didn't demonize it, he exposed it. In The Prince, he shows how leaders use generosity, mercy, even friendship, not as ends in themselves, but as tools to achieve power, to win loyalty, to weaken their enemies. The same logic applies to your life today. When someone goes out of their way to help you, it's wise to ask, why? Is it kindness, or is there a transaction you're not seeing yet? Think of a person who suddenly starts including you in things. Maybe it's a co-worker who invites you to lunch more often, who offers you advice, who defends you in meetings. It all seems generous on the surface, but a few weeks later they ask for a favor, or they want your endorsement, or they subtly use your name to boost their image. None of it was random. Their kindness was an investment, and you were the opportunity. Even in social settings, this plays out constantly. Someone listens to you, supports you, compliments your choices. They feel trustworthy, but then you realize they've been gathering information, not to connect, but to use it later, maybe against you, or maybe to gain influence with others. It's not always malicious, but it is strategic. And if you don't see the strategy, you become the pawn in someone else's game. Machiavelli teaches us not to judge people by what they say, or even what they do, but by what they need. What are they trying to achieve? What position are they in? And what advantage could they be seeking? When you understand someone's interests, their actions make perfect sense. It's not about becoming paranoid, it's about becoming aware. Awareness gives you distance, and distance gives you power. Next time someone offers you help, ask yourself, is this about me or about them? When someone fights for your attention, what do they stand to gain? When someone suddenly changes how they treat you, what's happening behind the scenes? Real clarity doesn't come from listening to words. It comes from watching patterns. Because motives are like shadows. They follow people everywhere, even when they try to hide them. If you want to avoid being manipulated, you need to become a quiet observer. Don't just hear what people say. Watch what they prioritize. Track their timing. Understand their pressures. Because once you start seeing the hidden interests behind people's actions, you stop reacting emotionally and you start responding intelligently. Ready for Rule 3? That's where things start to get even more revealing. Maintain emotional and financial independence. The moment you depend on someone, emotionally or financially, is the moment you lose leverage. Whether you realize it or not, you're no longer making choices from a place of freedom. You're reacting, adjusting, compromising, because part of your stability now lives in someone else's hands. And anyone who understands this, anyone with even a little Machiavellian instinct, can use it against you. They don't need to control you directly. All they need is for you to believe that you can't stand on your own. Machiavelli understood that true power doesn't come from dominance, it comes from autonomy. In The Prince, he argues that a ruler who relies on external forces, on allies, mercenaries, or borrowed strength, is always vulnerable. The same principle applies to individuals. When you rely on someone to make you feel validated, secure, or financially stable, you've handed over the reins. And no matter how kind or loyal they seem, you're now exposed. You're easier to influence, easier to manipulate, easier to break. Think of how often people stay in toxic relationships, not out of love, but out of emotional dependence. I don't want to be alone, they say. Or worse, I don't think I could handle life without them. That's not love. That's fear. And fear is the leash that manipulators love to pull. The same happens with money. When someone pays your bills, funds your lifestyle, or holds your paycheck over your head, your choices shrink. Your voice softens. You start avoiding conflict, not because you're wrong, but because you're afraid to lose the support you've become attached to. This is exactly why emotional and financial independence are not luxuries. They're shields. They protect your ability to walk away, to say no, to live on your own terms, because the person who needs nothing can never be bought, bribed, or blackmailed, and that makes you dangerous in the best possible way. Independence doesn't mean isolation. You can still love, still trust, still collaborate, but your core, your self-worth, your decisions, your stability must be rooted in you, not in anyone else's validation, not in anyone else's wallet. The less you need, the more power you have. And the more power you have, the harder it becomes for anyone to control you. So if you want to stop being manipulated, start here. Build your own ground, get your emotions in check, understand your triggers, heal what makes you feel small. And with money, no matter how little you have, begin to create freedom. Save, learn, earn, even if it's slow. Because every dollar you control and every emotion you manage is one more piece of armor against people who would use your dependence to bend your will. Freedom is power, and independence is its foundation. Now, ready for Rule 4? This is where it gets intense. In war, use calculated distrust, but without appearing hostile. Not everyone who smiles at you is your friend. Not everyone who helps you has good intentions. And not everyone who stays close actually wants the best for you. But here's the catch. If you show suspicion too openly, people pull away. They get defensive. They label you as paranoid, difficult, cold. So the real skill, the Machiavellian skill, is to remain quietly skeptical, to think 3 moves ahead, to question everything, but to do it without ever showing your hand. Machiavelli understood this perfectly. In The Prince, he suggests that a ruler must learn to be a great pretender and dissembler, not because deception is always necessary, but because transparency can be dangerous. If people know what you're thinking, they can manipulate it. If they feel your distrust, they'll either attack you or avoid you. But if you observe silently, without signaling threat, you gather more information than they realize. You give nothing away, and yet you see everything. This is where most people fail. They either trust too fast, revealing their weaknesses, their fears, their intentions to people who haven't earned that access. Or they mistrust too loudly, constantly accusing, interrogating, doubting everyone to their face. And both extremes create problems. One makes you a target, the other makes you unbearable. The balance is to stay calmly alert, to smile, to nod, to stay polite. But internally, you're studying, listening, watching for inconsistencies, asking yourself, why now? Why this? What's the angle here? Let's say someone suddenly becomes generous with you. They start offering advice, giving you connections, maybe even gifts. You thank them, you stay warm. But deep down, you don't jump to conclusions. You don't assume loyalty. You simply take note. You wait. Because time reveals motives that words often hide. Or think of a colleague who always agrees with you, always supports your ideas, never pushes back. At first it feels good, like you found a true ally, but over time you realize they never take risks. They never speak up unless it benefits them. They're not really loyal to you, they're loyal to opportunity. A calculated distrust helps you see that, not by confronting them, but by recognizing the pattern. This kind of mindset doesn't make you cold, it makes you composed. You're not judging people harshly, you're just refusing to be naive. You understand that everyone has motives, needs, and strategies, even the nicest ones. And when you act with that quiet awareness, you're harder to fool. You don't take things at face value. You don't rush to bond, but you also don't raise alarms. You let people think they have your trust while you wait to see if they've earned it. The goal isn't to live in fear. It's to stop being easy to deceive. You don't need to distrust everyone. Just don't give anyone blind access to your emotions, your secrets, or your plans. Keep your center solid, your words measured, and your eyes open. Because the moment you react without thinking, the game is already lost. Machiavelli would tell you, power is not about aggression. It's about awareness. The most powerful person in the room is not the loudest. It's the one who understands everyone's game while revealing none of their own. And now, we've come to Rule 5, the one that might just change the way you handle every relationship from this day forward. Be unpredictable, so you can't be controlled. The more predictable you are, the easier you are to control. People watch what you do, how you respond, what you avoid, what you chase, and they start to map you. Once they understand your patterns, they don't need to fight you directly. They just push the right buttons, trigger the right reactions, offer what they know you'll accept. And you, thinking you're making choices, are really just following the path they've already laid out for you. Machiavelli warned us about this in subtle ways. A prince, he said, must know how to adjust his behavior based on necessity, not morality, not consistency, but strategy. In his world, being too predictable was a liability. It made you easy to anticipate, and in politics, anticipation equals defeat. The same is true in everyday life. If people know how you'll react, they can shape your reality without you even noticing. Think of someone who always says yes to keep the peace. People learn that quickly, and then they start asking for more time, more favors, more tolerance for things that slowly wear you down. You think you're being kind, but really, they've decoded your need to be liked and now they're using it. Or take the opposite, someone who always explodes when challenged. All it takes is the right kind of provocation to throw them off balance again and again. They've been mapped, and now they're easy to control. Unpredictability breaks that cycle. It introduces doubt. It forces people to pause before trying to manipulate you because they can't be sure what you'll do next. Maybe you walk away when they expect you to argue. Maybe you go silent when they expect an explanation. Maybe you say no with no justification at all, and suddenly they're off balance. You've taken the script out of their hands. But unpredictability doesn't mean chaos. It's not about being erratic or unstable. It's about being intentionally flexible, choosing not to be tied to any fixed identity, any fixed response. One day you're patient, the next you're assertive. One moment you're open, the next you're reserved. You shift gears based on what the situation demands, not on what people expect. This makes you powerful, not because you're harder to understand, but because you're harder to control. People become cautious around you. They choose their words more carefully. They hesitate before trying to push you, and in that hesitation, you gain space. Space to think, to lead, to act on your own terms. Machiavelli would call this mastery of appearance. Let people believe they understand you while staying 2 steps ahead. Let them expect softness and give them firmness. Let them expect loyalty and give them silence, not out of cruelty, but out of control. The moment they can no longer predict you, they lose the ability to manipulate you. So if you want to protect your mind, your path, your freedom, stop being easy to read. Keep some of your thoughts to yourself. Make unexpected decisions. Say no when they expect yes. Be kind without being submissive. And walk away without warning when your peace is being traded for someone else's comfort. Because in a world that's constantly trying to tame you, unpredictability is your weapon. and the one who cannot be predicted cannot be controlled. In the end, what Machiavelli teaches us isn't about manipulation, it's about awareness. It's about waking up, refusing to sleepwalk through life while others pull your strings. In a world full of hidden motives and quiet power plays, your greatest defense is consciousness. The ability to think clearly, to act deliberately, and to protect your mind from becoming someone else's playground. You don't need to play dirty, you don't need to betray your values, but you do need to stop being predictable, stop being dependent, and stop assuming everyone clapping for you actually wants you to win. Master yourself, guard your peace, question everything. That's not being paranoid, that's being free. If this video opened your eyes even just a little, then do something powerful. Share it. Send it to someone who's too trusting, too stuck, too easy to manipulate. Help them wake up too. And if you want to keep sharpening your mind with ideas that challenge, provoke, and elevate you, subscribe. Don't just scroll and forget. Join the people who are choosing to see clearly. Hit the like button, drop a comment with the rule that hit you the hardest, and let's keep growing together. Because the moment you stop being controlled is the moment you become unstoppable.